A woman I don't know. Wife to someone I watch on YouTube. Who was not nearly old enough that you would kind of expect it. Who wasn't sick enough that anyone was expecting anything. Failed to wake up one morning. It was so sudden and so quiet, it didn't wake him up. And this just set me weeping. It's so cruel. And I've been thinking about that since, what on earth could just take a person in the blink of an eye. And I remembered when I was very young, a man was training for, he was practicing his paragliding routine for the Olympics in Calgary. And he was as fit as you ever want to be, let's face it. He was an athlete. And while training, just suddenly turned out the lights. It's like someone just reached in and flipped a switch. He didn't die because he fell because he died. It was like in flight and gone. And, I used to say to myself, there's worse ways to go, but the thing is, he was only 38 years old. It's ridiculous and healthy. And then there was a man who's, again, he was in his late 30s, and not healthy. He was walking down the street having an afternoon with his daughter, on the sidewalk, when suddenly, just like that, again, like someone had turned a switch. Like you would imagine it would look like if you were left behind during the rapture. These people just suddenly crumple. If they're standing, they just, boom, they go from being alive to not being alive in an instant. I don't have a message, just wanted to say that can happen. A lot of times they say you might get hit by a bus. Well, you might not get hit by a bus, but that doesn't mean you might not die young. I say only the good die young, but I long ago gave up the idea that someone out there is making these kinds of decisions about us. I rather like to think that we are part of that somebody up there, that it is a composite awareness created by the disparate existence of everything that is alive. And when put together like a bunch of, like the SETI experiment with all those strung together computers, when you put together the sentience of every living thing, the tree awareness, the bug awareness, you and me, we create a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts. And that is the thing that is so ineffable and astounding and touching, that when we draw near, or when we access it, we immediately feel the depth of it. And we call it sacred, and we call it enlightening, and so many words that just don't quite describe. And because it's past that. It's every word that's ever existed, and every gesture, and every look, and every feeling, everything and everything, isn't it? And it's not just what has existed, it's what will exist. It's everything. We are parts of it. We're not here to achieve much, actually. Not much at all. The goal is simple and twofold. Goal number one, experience what it's like to live in a certain set of circumstances. And number two, try to find love or forgiveness or kindness in your heart, regardless of the circumstances. Because when we find love in ourselves, and when we let go of the anger, we can't necessarily let go of it, but you don't nurse it, you don't feed it. You acknowledge it, you accept that it's there, you find healthy outlets, but you don't hang it on anyone's neck. And you don't expect anyone to carry it for you. And you don't feed it. You focus instead on what is the kindest thing I can do. And the kind things that you do aren't always going to come back in any kind of positive way, and you're not always going to feel good about it. And, well, that's not the point. What you did was the point, not what it did for you. You did it, and it gets done. It happens. And that, my friends, is if I only knew the game terms better. Usually in a game you have more than one end goal. There's one that finishes the game, and there's one that gets you those extra points and that extra gear. Sometimes it actually gets you extra special gear that people are like, ooh, we completed that special quest. And that's the special one. Keep doing it with love. Keep pushing away your fear and your hate and your anger. Keep arguing with them. Keep trying to find a loving reason. Keep trying to be loving. When you have to do hateful things, do them in a loving way. As best you can. Or at least don't do them in a hateful way. Just, we can't love everybody. I know that. I can't. You can't. Someone's going to fall in the cracks. But we can be kind. And we can remember that they're part of us and we're part of them. We're all part of this. And we can remember that. That, in my mind, is why we should continue to do kind things. And ask nothing. You got to remember you're probably always going to have expectations. No matter how you try to ignore them or, not talk about them or tell anyone, you will have little expectations. They'll creep in the form of daydreams, of moments of, gee, wouldn't it be neat if? And that's okay. But don't invest in them. Just remember they're probably never going past that. Anyways, don't stop loving.